Jonathan Taylor Thomas, right? That was his name. That everybody like. That was the younger brother, right?
Yep.
Wasn't he in The Lion King?
Yeah. Ooh, he's kind of cute now. Oh wait. No, he's 41 years old. He's my age? He is not cute. Holy buckets. My aunt called me, or no, I called her this week, and she goes, I just want to let you know that I was on Facebook, and I'm usually not on Facebook, and a memory popped up for when you first had your daughter, and you were holding baby Reese. And she goes, you looked beautiful. Don't get me wrong. You've always been beautiful, but you are more beautiful now than you were back then. I go, what? No. And she goes, yes, like your smile is different. Your smile is like more powerful and confident. And she's like, you have just grown into this beautiful. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, okay, thank you. And like, what do you say to that? Like we were talking like one episode.
Mental note to self, call my aunt every week.
Yeah, exactly. But like taking a compliment like that was like, oh, thank you. So I thought
that's awesome. I didn't have anybody tell me this week that I have grown more beautiful every day since I had a child. How about you, Ethan?
I forgot to call you, Steve. I'm sorry. I normally do. It's every week.
Yeah.
Well,
I call you first, and I call Dean. I let him know.
Yeah.
I let him know how beautiful you are. I don't.
Well played.
When can he come back? I haven't done a podcast with him yet.
I'll have to message him and have him sign up again.
Yeah, he's going to be, I think, out of pocket for a little bit. He's got stuff going on, but...
Does he?
Yeah.
That's the bad part about my new role is I don't know anything that's going on in people's lives anymore. I used to know. Well, I hope he's okay.
Yeah. But he's still, doing awesome. He had some awesome compliments. Oh, speaking of that, your compliment where your aunt told you that. Recently, we had this person who facilitates this one meeting ask these business people, how they felt this one meeting was going, which has really been a meeting that Dean has basically facilitated for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And the written response, comes back and says, basically, all of us, and let's just say there's 8-9 business people, we all love this meeting. It is productive and fun, and basically all these things that they love about it are all things that the Double D started.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And of course, in typical Dean fashion, he's downplaying his own role in all this. And I'm like, oh, please, whatever, Dean. You were the instigator of all of this. It's pretty funny.
Did he get a high five for it?
No, he did not get a high five from me. He should have, but instead, I was recently filling out his review. So I hope that helps.
Got it. Yeah.
But I should do the high five.
I think you should do the high five too.
Yeah.
Because everyone sees it, the ops team sees it. So.
Sure. Okay.
I will do that. High fives.
What's the funniest reason you've ever heard or seen someone get put on a performance improvement plan for?
I can talk about myself.
You didn't get... Where did you get put on a performance plan?
At Target, when I was an FTE there.
At corporate or in the store?
Corporate.
Okay.
I was put on a performance improvement plan by HR. I met with HR, and they said, well, your body language is not in alignment with how Target Corp expects people to conduct themselves. And I'm like, well, can you elaborate? he said that when you cross your legs and look up when you're thinking, it makes people think that you are not engaged. I'm like, okay. And then he also told me that I think backwards. There was a specific example where I was facilitating a meeting and I had to come up with timelines. And I started at the date and then said, okay, what are all the things we need to do? And they didn't like that I worked backwards. They told me that I don't have enough get to know yous. And so part of my job is to build relationships, and they want to see me have at least 5 get to know yous a week. And AKA, a get to know you means you go for 1 hour with somebody you've never met before and you go get coffee and you get to know them. And I needed to have at 5 each week. What else?
I mean, I guess if they're paying for it.
And I document things too much. I take too many notes. And these are all my performance plan. I have a list of all these things that I need to work on.
I do not miss old corporate, man. Like, not at all. That place was so stuffy till like 10 years ago.
That is so like preposterous. I don't even know how to respond.
So I called our company, our boss, and because I worked with him before, and I said, get me out of Target. I can't be here anymore. I want to come to here. And within 2 weeks, I put in my notice, and within a month, I was at our company.
Wow, good for you. That is completely stupid.
And my grandma was dying at the time, literally dying. Like, I was visiting her in hospice, and she died during that. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
It was
All
January
reasons to leave.
31st that my grandma died, and I left Target March 15th, and I started at our company March 25th. So yes, my grandma died during all of this. So I'm literally crying. And my ex-husband, or husband at the time, was like talking to other women and like not paying attention to me. Oh, and I had a 2-year-old daughter. And I'm pretty sure I had a 2-year-old daughter. It was very difficult.
Surprised you didn't stab somebody.
I'm surprised I haven't stabbed anyone my whole life. Like, I'm a very
They wouldn't have put you on a PIP for that though. But
No.
looking up and thinking that is a PIP.
Yes.
We don't want any thinking.
Don't
Actually, what's funny about that is we want you to only think like everyone else here.
Yep.
That
Yep.
is like
That's in line with
Classic.
corporate. Totally
Yeah,
in line with
totally.
corporate.
yes.
They called
This is
it the
funny.
target mold. They're
Yeah.
like, you do not fit the target mold. That's what I was told in my PIP. You do
Yep.
not fit the target mold. We don't think you are a good fit here. So we're gonna put you on a PIP.
That's like a thing. So in the esports community, there's this guy. His name's XQC, and he's really good at a game at Overwatch. And the reason that I can't remember if he was actually on a professional team. I think he was, and then he got cut. But it was exactly that. It was that he would not conform to what they wanted him to do. He was just himself, and so they were like, "Well, we're done," type deal. Which is why, because I'm really good at hiding. I feel like, but I'm also keenly aware that I don't fit the mold a lot of places. I've got this weird way of like being able to put up enough boundaries so that like I can still be myself, but also not rock the boat too much.
Yep, you do. You have a great balance.
I was at Best Buy, and there was this product manager, product owner, whatever, and he was not good at what he did. He didn't have like any answers for anything. My favorite story that somebody told me of, he was in a meeting with the CTO, and he was trying to explain the work that they were doing, and the CTO goes, "Convince me," which is like the ultimate throwdown of
Absolutely.
like, it's So I'm like, okay, that's great. So anyway, a contractor friend, we were out there as contractors, and he sat next to this guy, and he happened to this was pit style, like just 2 4-foot tables and people sitting at a 4-foot table and people sitting at the tables, so very close proximity. And he happened to like look over at this guy's computer, and he told me, he's like, I think he's writing a book while he's at work. I'm like, he's like, I'm pretty sure I saw like, a title page with the chapter. I'm pretty sure he's writing a book. Turns out a full-time employee had seen that as well and was very upset about it and went. And it turns out he was in fact writing a book at work.
Oh my gosh.
And he got put on a performance improvement plan, and he was allowed to leave on his own.
Oh, yes.
Did not get fired.
Is there ever a performance improvement plan that isn't followed by separation?
That's
in my
question.
Maybe. The advice that I've seen is, if you get put on a performance improvement plan, take all your PTO and find a new job and get out.
Yeah. I mean, it's not working. Like, you're getting put on that for a reason.
Right, but does the company, if the entity, the org, does that company have any incentive to try to help you improve to be better? Or is the PIP crossing the Rubicon? Like, no, we're not going back.
Sorry, go
I
ahead.
think it's last chance. He didn't get fired, nor did he leave like within a month's time. So I'm not sure if he overcame the PIP and got out of it and then left. I think he left while the PIP was still in place a few months later. I think there is incentive for companies, only because it depends on how much you're pissing people off, because it's expensive to bring people on. And so if you're already there and you show that you're willing to work for them or work with them, I think there's incentive for you to stay on.
I can think of one example where I did have to put someone on a PIP and they came back strong. And it all worked out. But that's one out of like quite a few that I've had to put people on. So yes, I would say it's usually a good time to part ways, but you can tell by the intention too of the PIP. Like, the way they're talking to you, if the way they're talking to you is, let's work together, we're going to give you resources, we want to support you, like, this is like, and then we're going to make sure. Or if the way they're talking to you is like very strict and stern and like no emotion and no like
or very vague,
yeah, like the intent behind the PIP, you should have enough self-awareness and knowledge of society to be able to take that hint or take it as an opportunity to grow.
Yeah, I think to your point, Steve, most of the time you've crossed the Rubicon.
For sure.
It's just crossing the I's and dotting the T's.
Yeah. Yep.
What's the is it silent firing, quiet firing? Is that what it is?
Yeah, what is it called?
The one where you like try and make people's lives miserable. I've seen that too at the same place where they didn't want, this dude is like, the stories like, this dude is just, it sounds like a character, but he's an actual person, like an actual real person that did these real things. But yeah, they just kept pushing him to all these places that he didn't like, till finally he got the hint and he's like, I'm leaving.
Okay.
So I've seen that. That's always never fun to watch.
No.
Too. Any funny stories, Steve, from your storied career? Long and winded.
No, like funny pips that I can think of. Just funny things that should have or could have eventually resulted in a pip. I remember one guy, a developer, this was like early 2000s, a team was going to meet with this prospective customer. And like first meeting with the customer, okay, we're just going to gather requirements on what they want to do. And the instructions were, okay, you're just getting information. Don't give them any estimates. Don't tell them how long you think it's going to take, because we need to regroup and work through it as a team to come up with what we need to do. What happens in the first meeting? The developer goes, oh, that'll take me like 5 days. All be done.
Yep.
That was a bad moment. And there were already kind of warning signs that this person was a bit of a cowboy. So there was that.
Was that recent? Within the last like 4 years?
No, this was like 20 years ago.
Because I'm pretty sure the same thing happened at the place we were at together before you showed up.
Oh, really? Okay. The other one was a guy who was working for me, though he didn't know he would be working for me. So I was brought into an organization as kind of a lead to help the team. But eventually the intent was, okay, I'm going to take over this team. And I remember one time I walked into this pod area, and it was where all the desks sort of faced away from each other, so you could turn around and all look at each other, right? And I walk in the morning to sit down, and this guy was talking to somebody, and he looks at me, and to make a joke, he says, well, speaking of assholes, as I walked in, and I just kind of looked at him and went, huh.
Yeah.
And sat down. And interestingly enough, this guy was like, surfing the web all day, because his back was to me. Anytime I'd walk to my desk, I could see what he was doing. Yep. He's like on the web constantly. He's talking hockey with a buddy on the other side of the wall that I could hear the entire conversation, talking about poker with this other guy. I mean, he seriously put in like maybe an hour's worth of work a day.
Yeah.
And I could see it all. And at one point, like, I'm his manager, so I'm, meeting with him regularly, and I kind of bring up these points in one of the meetings with him. I'm like, hey, I noticed this, I noticed this, I noticed this. And his response was, well, this other person does this, and I've noticed this, and really it isn't that much. And I'm like, no, it's a lot. I notice it, and other people have even commented on it. And I'd just like to see you, kind of improve in this area and really focus on the work. We really have this to do. And his responses were not how I would expect him to respond. It was all deflection, not anything like, okay, yep, I need to do that better. And so I remember at the end of that meeting, I just basically typed up everything and said, okay, here are my concerns, and here were all of your responses. Is this accurate? And about 6 weeks later, he turned in his notice. And I was like, okay, good. Message
found
received.
Out. Yeah.
Yep. So never got to a PIP, but yeah, that moment where he said, speaking of assholes, and he thought he was being funny, right?
Yeah.
But it like came across like, you don't know me well enough to say that.
Yep.
So, yeah. Anyway, those are my stories.
It's funny how just so many people can't read the room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We were talking about this with my family, and I was telling my wife, I'm like, it's a skill called emotional intelligence. Like, she's like, is that a real thing? I'm like, yeah, 100%. Like, knowing when to say things and when not to say things. Yeah. And how to react to things.
Right.
Very valuable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Speaking of reading the room, and I'm not intending to devolve this conversation into Dungeons and Dragons. This is not about a tabletop role-playing game. This is about a business. Have you heard about this? Wizards of the Coast, they own Dungeons and Dragons, and how they have completely managed to...
I haven't heard an update.
Okay, so they have completely managed to shoot themselves in the foot.
Okay.
alienate all of their customers and shit the bed all in a matter of 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Um,
Did they double
No.
down on what they were doing?
kind of, yeah. They, at first they walked back
Yeah.
and to know what we're talking about. This is a company who has definitely number one in the marketplace by far, like hugely number one. They've got it all. But one of the things that their history has been is for 20 years, they weren't much 25 years ago, right? The game's been around for 50 years, but
Yep.
the game hasn't been much. So they intentionally created this kind of this open license. And all of these people, these creators, people like you and me, were able to create things for the game and build its popularity. Okay. And keep the game going, right? Keep the company afloat. Company makes money. No problem. They're number one in the market. They're great. Well, suddenly the company's thinking, we can definitely make more. So let's take control over this thing that we've had as open license for now. But the way they did it, and I kind of understand why they were doing it. They're like, this is our IP. We should be making something on this rather than all these other people who are clearly making a lot of money on this. And by a lot, that's a bit of an exaggeration, and so I kind of get where they're saying, let's get a little bit of control, so maybe we're making some of this. But what they decided to do is swing the pendulum like completely other way and destroy any faith they've had with the people who have basically propped them up for 20 years.
Right.
Such that people are fleeing and unsubscribing, and it's a complete PR disaster. So anyway, that's one of those things where a company just makes a huge misstep and didn't read the room, and the executive team that they brought in knows nothing about like the game. So they're making these decisions in a vacuum, not understanding that at least in my mind, they need the community more than the community needs them.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah.
So I don't want to devolve into that. There's plenty of other people have done like videos on the internet that describe it in way more detail and way better than I can. All I look at it and go is think, what were you thinking? Read the room.
Yeah. Thinking they want to make money. Maybe they want to retire or something, and they're needed to increase the amount of money so they could sell or something. Who knows?
Yeah. It's one of those shaking my head moments. It could easily be a fascinating business case study for years, which is really interesting. Like, would you want to be the executive who's like, and in this, at such and such a university years from now, all these universities, let me tell you about this CEO who completely screwed up, and here's why. Here are things not to do. So we'll see. It's amusing to me. Does it impact me greatly? No. Can I continue to play the game just fine without them? Absolutely. But it's get the popcorn and watch.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing.
And you have there's a Dungeons and Dragons learning community thing coming up in is it early February?
Mid-February, yep.
Jess,
you're invited.
I know.
Are you playing a campaign actually, or is this more training?
No, this is it's kind of a camp. Usually every time we play, it's just a single adventure. However, I'm stringing them together so people get a feel for that it's a campaign. However, fun fact about this one is I'm teaching 2 people to run the event that day, and I will probably play. Assuming they are both like on board with running it and I meet with them next week, they're going to run it. I'm giving them all the tools to run it, and I will just sit there and play. So I'm like, Jess, you need to come, and you get to play next to me, and I'll just kind of coach you along.
Is one of our friends whose initials are ET?
No.
No? Okay.
No. It's the Video Master.
Oh, really?
And another guy who pretty much shows up every time we play.
Very fun.
Yeah. Although ET could definitely do it and handle it.
Yeah.
I think, but I've had 2 people express interest in doing it, and I'm like, cool. I'll tell you what you want to know. Anything, any questions? Let me know. Here's what I plan to run. Here it is. I'll give you everything to run it. So
that's awesome. It's
it'd be kind of fun.
The teacher like elevates to like the master and like the Sherpa. You are no longer a teacher. You are now the Sherpa.
Yes, but this was always kind of one of my goals, as it would be like, in any organization, right? You're like, I need to teach people and see who filters up to the top to do this sort of thing.
Yep.
So it's always been one of my goals to have something like this. Whenever I've asked people, like in a survey on our group channel or whatever, I'm like, hey, does anybody want to do this? Like crickets for the most part. Mm-hmm. But 2 people have said, yeah, I'm interested in this. So we'll see.
Very fun. Well, congrats.
There's on TikTok on my For You page, for some reason, this old Critical Role like episode had come up where it shows one woman's trying to do a check. They're at a place and they're gonna like get something out of a tomb, and so one character is like wants to do a check. Meanwhile, her brother is down at the tomb opening it and touches like leather armor before the check's finished. And the second he does that, there's like this necrotic death aura that like shoots all over the room and does like 56 damage to like these 2 or 3 people or whatever. And so she's like, I'm unconscious, and the DM is like, does that bring you below 0? And she's like, yes. And she starts freaking out because now her character has died. And now he's clearly didn't want to do it, but now he's like, and she falls back to the floor, and as she hits the floor, her eyes look up and you see the last wisp of life come out of her. And then they did an episode on that one, and that's exactly how it happened in the episode too.
I still
it happens.
Love it. I love the idea of it. I love the concept and the gameplay and the gamesmanship, and every time I want to get into it, something comes up. Like, I either have my kids, or when I don't have my kids, I have something going on. It's ridiculous. So someday.
Yeah. Keep an eye on it.
Yep.
I am continually amazed by some of the people that attend, and they attend regularly, but like they surprise me every time. It's very fun. Like, that's awesome. So it's very cool.
So I had an MRI done on Saturday, and I've been having these really weird headaches. And my chiropractor, who I've been seeing for, I don't know, maybe 8-9 years, I've stopped seeing him for a couple years. So I've known him for 8 or 9, but I stopped seeing him. I just went back a couple weeks ago because I've been having these really weird brain stings. They're not a headache. They're called brain. I'm calling them brain stings, where it stings for a second and then it's gone. But it happened like 20 times a day. And then I got sick, and then it became a constant headache. So now the stings are gone, but now it's a constant headache. Now I get sharp shooting pains from my eyeball down to my jaw, and it feels like a lightning bolt is going through my cheek. So that's new. And so I had an MRI because he's like, what is wrong with you? We don't know. And my neck, so we had an MRI done on my neck, and you know how like your neck has like a natural curvature? I have a reverse curve, and so it goes like this, and which is causing, or I don't even know if it's causing it, but I also have 3 disc bulges in my lower neck on the left hand side. And so we don't know if that's what's causing the weird head issues. But now I'm starting physical therapy next week, which I'm looking forward to. But now the reason why I have this pillow is because I'm trying to like have my neck go back. And like trying not to like go like this and like have my neck back and like sleeping because I'm a back sleeper. So I'm like having like trying to find the curvature in my neck because I can just sleep on my bed without a pillow. So yeah, I was nervous though because I was, you know me, I'm risk management and worry wart and control freak. And so I'm like, oh my God, I have a tumor. I'm going to have surgery, and then I'm going to have chemo, and then I'm going to die.
It's not a tumor.
It's not a tumor.
You don't have reading glasses, do you?
No.
Okay. All right.
They didn't call it text neck, did they?
No, what I was going to say is if you have reading glasses, like sometimes you might be leaning forward, but have you heard of these lazy readers?
Mm-mm.
So my wife got a pair for Christmas from my daughter. They are wicked. Like you can lean back and see it like has like these weird reflectors in it where you can see at an angle. Like you could be looking straight ahead, but you can see your lap.
Oh, that's cool. Is there like a mirror?
Something like that, yeah.
There's like a mirror where you can look straight ahead and you can.
I put them on and I was like, it blew my mind. I was like, oh my gosh, this would be great. I could pretend I'm paying attention, but be like reading something in my lap. Anyway, I was just thinking about that because maybe it would help you keep your neck back, but you don't have to worry about it anyway. You got good vision.
Well, and I don't read, so even better.
Hopefully physical therapy will take care of it.
Yeah.
Reading is overrated.
Yeah, I do all my reading through Audible. Like I listen to my stuff. I love reading, don't get me wrong. Like I used to like read on the bus and before I had kids. Then as soon as kids came along, I was like, yeah, this is not that important to me.
Yeah, who's got time for reading?
Yeah. There's a lot of people who do. Like people just read at night. Like, oh, that'd be nice.
It is the only time I ever hear the word voracious.
Ooh, voracious.
I'm a voracious reader.
Ooh.
Right? When do you ever hear that?
Never. Just from
other than when you're talking about reading.
I don't think anybody I know that's read has ever said that.
No.
I think we should start Googling words that Steve says and see when they went out of style.
Okay, my next word is outdoor plumbing. Just kidding. Speaking of things that are in style, my brother, I'm currently house sitting for him and dog sitting. He has made the contention for years about what he feels is the greatest invention of the modern human.
Electricity.
And I'm willing to make an argument about this. You can talk me out of this. His theory, and I have a hard time disputing it, is the hot shower.
I feel like we've talked about this before.
Did we talk about this?
I don't know. It sounds familiar.
I was thinking about it like just today. I was taking a hot shower and I was like, oh man.
This is the best.
Yes.
I think that every time I hop in the shower. Every time I hop in the hot shower, I think, oh, this is the best feeling. I just love it. And I can sit in the shower for an hour and just sit. I love it.
Voracious usage has come up since the 1980s, but way down since the 1800s.
Really? That's great.
Yeah. So I mean, pretty flat when it, you were.
Well,
around.
there's only so many words anybody can use in a given day, and when it's replaced by things like TikTok and Instagram, something's got to fall off at the end. Voracious was just one of them. And with the loss of people reading and really kind of different media taking over, Voracious was clearly destined to be shelved. But I am going to keep it alive. It is my goal every time I talk to you to use the word voracious.
I think you should. And me.
Okay.
And anybody.
I used the word, not used, but said the word unflappable. And I'm going to see if my wife will come down here.
I have a funny word story for you.
Okay.
Back in the 70s, okay, one of the big words that was going around, which was kind of a teen slang, hipster slang, be sort of like what's a word people use today to mean like good, like
Bet.
fly or what?
Bet. Well, bet means good.
Okay.
Or like okay.
Okay. So back in the 70s, people would say, "Baby," like, "Yeah, that's awesome." Oh, did you see that show, baby? Okay. I was in the 70s. Well, my father, rest his soul, he misheard that, and he thought it was Bawaba. I don't know how he got there. I don't know how he got there. But naturally, me and my siblings would, of course, make fun of this. And so we all started saying Bawaba. And we still do today. Like only with my siblings, though. And just yesterday, I was messaging my brother, the one who's traveling. He's in India right now. I'm messaging him, and my phone, I was trying to type Bawaba, and I spelled it wrong, and my phone auto-corrected it to how it's spelled.
Really?
Yes, because I use it so often.
Bawaba? Like that
Yes.
actually?
Like, it's not a word, but because I use it so often, it has learned the word.
Do you still use it often?
Yes, but only with my siblings.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Like,
hilarious.
I've never talked about this with anybody. Not the squad, not BFF, not Pat, not Adam. Haven't talked about it with them. My siblings and my daughter knows it.
Yeah. Bawaba.
Yeah, and her boyfriend, he knows it, and he
So,
just
like-
kind of looks at me and goes, "I know." Yeah.
Do they say it too?
Yeah. Oh yeah. They all do.
Too?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Nice.
And as a bonus, my dad used to have this little arm pump thing that he would do with it, pumping them back and forth. And that has transferred down in his grandchild, my daughter, will do that with her arms. She'll
That is so cute. That is the cutest. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I love
So
it.
I was reminded of it when my phone was like, I know, I'm picking up what you're throwing down. Let me autocorrect that for you.
That's awesome. Very fun.
Okay, so she doesn't want to come over here, which this mic's so nice. I don't know if it'll pick you up from over there. We'll see. But so we were at dinner. We were eating dinner last night at the table, and we were talking about emotional intelligence. And then I threw out. I was telling her she was making fun of emotional intelligence not being a thing or something, and she's like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "People just want someone who's unflappable." And she goes, "That's not a word."
Oh, I love it.
And so she has no clue about that, or have I told you that that's in a review? Yeah, that's where it came from. Yeah, so there's no clue.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That just makes me sad.
Yep. She's looking at me. She's like, she said someone gave you a review and used the word unflappable.
Yep.
Yep.
It's a good data point. It's an independent data point. I appreciate that. It just makes me sad. All my 19th century language is falling out of style.
Yeah.
Yes.
You should have like a 19th century word of the day that you're trying to revive.
That would be awesome.
In our water cooler Slack channel, you should do 19th century word of the day.
We have a water cooler one.
I forgot about that. I'm not part of it, but I remembered the announcement about that.
Yeah, it's called Virtual Water Cooler. And what the purpose of this is to bring us together by virtual water cooler with the topic of conversation at least once per week. This will help us get to know each other a little bit better and take the place of an in-person water cooler conversation. So
We
it's
did
kinda
do
fun.
at the place we were at, Steve. I don't know if you were there, but we used to play games when we do like status reports get really boring, and explaining upcoming product features gets really boring after a while when you're in those meetings all the time. So I would try and spice them up, and we would play a game where I would go find the most random words that were difficult to pronounce and explain what they were and put them on a wheel. And I did this to the product managers, and before they gave their presentation, they would spin the wheel and it would land on a word, and they had to use that word in their pitch for whatever the thing was.
That is awesome.
So I did have to know what they were, because I'd have to define it, because a lot of times it's like, because some of them just look like random letters.
Sure. I am reminded right now, because Jess, you said that is awesome. And I was just about to say that's awesome. And I'm reminded that two of our most staunch listeners, give me lots of grief about the fact that I say, "Oh, that's awesome," like so much on this podcast.
Do you really?
I guess so. Like, I don't even realize it until like just now when I caught myself. I'm like, oh, I was about to say it, and they're gonna remind me about it.
So what do like young kids say nowadays? Like,
They say bawaba.
You didn't need to make that a thing. No, like all these words that kids say are like completely opposite of what you would think they would mean.
Well, I remember
what?
Double D did like some presentation one time where he used like yeet.
Dude,
Apparently that's some word that I'm like, I got nothing for that one.
that was so funny. Again, that was another status report where he wasn't going to be there.
Yes,
And I'm like,
it was.
just make a video and like send, it's cool. And he sent, not only did he make a video, but he did a one take of all these different sections, and he made these like videos of him presenting, but from he was being a streamer. Like
Yeah.
a
Oh,
DJ
really?
streamer. Yes.
Yeah. He like had a hat on and he was like, decked out.
I'm
And he
pretty
was
sure
like,
I have that
"Ugh."
somewhere.
Oh, that was so good.
Maybe
And-
that'll just magically post to random or something
Yeah.
soon.
It was so disarming to the crowd. People sat there with their mouths agape, and you could just see their faces light up with joy watching this thing.
It was so
it was
funny.
It was so great. And it was like a topic of conversation for like a month.
Yeah.
Does that still happen? Like, do people have fun on projects anymore?
Yep.
Yeah. It depends on the team. So I met with somebody today from the place that I'm rolling out of, and we were chatting. And I'm like, this team has been interesting to work with because it's been really difficult to pin them down. I see these really weird things that I've only seen like one time other places. And I'm like, it's like, it's not just like, it's like it's so individualistic
Yeah.
that it makes it a big challenge to try and kind of have things coalesce. Like we have one person who the whole team kind of, they do this thing, which was a big thing at the place that you and I were at, Steve, where nobody wanted to talk and until you said it was time to move on, and then everybody wanted to talk. Which it's, you just get used to it and you're like, that's just how it is. So like if I want to move things along, I say we're done talking about it after like 5 seconds of silence, and we keep going. But we had like one person on this team that, you know, they just want to go down every single rabbit hole.
I know who you're talking about.
We're just talking about this, and we just want to talk about all this stuff, and it's like, that's cool, but like we don't have time for that in this meeting. Sorry.
Yep.
I would say the Double D makes things fun.
Okay.
At our current engagement,
And
sometimes
does it?
yeah, he's constantly trying to do things, and
Really?
some things stick. He did this thing, Song of the Day,
Mhm.
where our development team, it was like 5-6 people, we would rotate who would pick the song of the day, and you post it on our channel, and everybody would like listen to the song, and we'd record it in this, you know, in this Confluence list, right? So we have a whole list from over a year old of every song that anyone has ever posted. So we did that, and people would join our team, and you know, we'd say, okay, you know, it's going to be your turn, and they were like, really, you know, cool, and they'd put something in there. Well, I told you this thing where somebody said that they love our team and how they look forward to it. The meetings are fun and informative and productive. One of the other comments was, and we're on the business side, but we know you guys do this Song of the Day. We want to be in that too.
No way. That is so fun. Okay, that
Yep.
makes me happy.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it really depends on. It depends on the team and how much time you have to be there, I think, with the people. If you have people rotating in and out, it doesn't work real well. But if you're there for an extended period of time, like you'll get there eventually, you know. And yes, I like just trying stuff and seeing what sticks. 100%. That's exactly what you do. Like, you know, at the place we were at, we played Jeopardy for status reports, which is it was hilarious. Most of the stuff I would just did to make myself laugh. Because I thought it was funny to torture all these poor people.
I remember that. Yep.
I don't know, like the projects I've been on, I don't know, I guess maybe I'm not in the day-to-day, but even when I like drop in on day-to-day items, it's just the day-to-day. It's normal, mundane stuff. And I'm just like, where's the art of having fun? Where did having fun go? I just want to
It dies with projects.
It does, I feel like.
It does. You have more fun when you're working with products because it's an
Well, a
extended
product
time.
is the project. Like, the project is working on a product. So, like, are you talking about, like, maintenance mode of a product where it's, like, already created and you're just maintaining it? Or are you talking about, like, the building of a new product from scratch? Like, because
just working on a product. Because you can have projects on a product, right? So,
yeah.
You know, Steve, you think back to the place that you're at and when you were doing the move, I can't remember what it was called, but the big move where it had to be done by a certain date, that sucks the fun out of the room. When it's like, we have this deadline, and like that 100% just sucks the fun out of the room. When it's more open-ended, like we're trying to build stuff, sure, there are deadlines that you have to hit and there are milestones that you're trying to hit, but you're able to have a little bit more fun because it's not like this thing that's looming over. And a lot of times in a contractor role, that means we leave too, and so it depends on how long it is too. I think it would be if we go out to a place for a 5-year project and we were staff aug somewhere else on a product for 5 years, I think we'd have the same experience. But if we go to a place for a 6-month or a year project, it'd be different than if we were to go out there and staff aug for a product for a year.
I want to bring it back having fun though.
Go ahead, Jess. I have a comment on this. Go ahead.
No, I don't know if I fully align to like if it's a product versus project. I kind of feel like to me it's personality of the team. Like if you have a person on the team who makes it fun, it just naturally brings out vulnerability, or it brings out.
It can.
It
and
can.
that's what Dean does. Steve does that. I do that. Like
I feel like it's.
Yeah, I think it's people.
Yes.
Yes.
And there was one person who tried to discredit the idea of team building.
Yep.
And when that person left, things changed. Because you can have one person who craps in the well and ruins it for everybody. But if you don't have anybody doing that, and you have enough people going, hey, this is going to be great, come on, we're going to do it. The people who are sort of on the fence and like, I don't know if I want to put myself out there, eventually they get caught up in the tide and they're like, okay, cool, I'm in.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm still thinking about crapping in the well, by the way.
That was a horrific.
That's one of my 19th century.
19th century, yeah.
Yeah.
I was at a place where they said, it was really funny because they'd made the comment about the sausage factory or something, or how the sausage was made, and some people are like, we should probably not say that.
That's funny. What if we have how to bring the fun back to engagements? Because we're consultants. Wouldn't that be like and have no agenda except for people coming with one thing that their team did or they did or someone did that they know that was fun, and then have someone facilitate, take notes, and like now we have a whole list of like fun things to do when on a project. So like if someone's like, I need to spice something up, we have somewhere to go. Wouldn't that be kind of cool?
Yep.
We did that with Level Up.
Did we? Where was I? I feel like
I think we did. I was like,
I
think I was there though.
Yeah.
I think you were.
I feel like I've attended almost every Level Up, but apparently not.
Was it a Level Up or another one? I don't know, but I could swear I've been.
Level Up.
I could swear I participated in something.
Yeah.
What'd you do?
But it was like 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was exactly what you described. It was, let's discuss ideas to make things fun and, remotely. And then, that's exactly what it was.
I remember that. Yes.
It's mostly like, probably somewhere, yeah. It's mostly like, you can make it fun. Like, you want to bring the fun back? Like, do it.
Oh, trust me. You know me. I do. Like every meeting I'm in, because over the summer I was on like 9 engagements with 9 different companies. Every company I brought the fun. I was like, okay, we're gonna do something different. Because I had to like spice it up. I didn't want it to be the same conversation over and over and over, because it would just be boring.
It is boring, yep.
I don't like boring.
What we do is boring.
It is. It's very boring. Okay, I'm looking in our old. Do we take?
I can't remember if that one was recorded or not. I don't remember. Yeah. I'll have to poke around. I'll have to poke around my OneNote and see what I have.
If you could, that'd be awesome. Just because I don't want to recreate, or we could at least have a starting point.
I think it's fine to just throw it out there. Just do it again.
But here's the thing is,
I was just gonna say, people really like the dealing with difficult people. We've done that. I
Okay,
personally did that like 4 times.
lots of
And
times.
then the people that took over, they also did it too. Like it was so popular that they were like, we want to do it again. Like we've had other people ask for it. So it's probably worth doing again.
You know,
No,
if you keep
it's
doing
not.
dealing with difficult people and you're the common denominator,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I'm sorry, but like, no, let's not do that one again because I don't feel like
No,
people learn. They
not
don't
dealing-
learn.
not
Because-
dealing with difficult people. The fun, having fun. Do that one
Oh.
again.
Do
Yeah.
that one. Yes.
but
No,
here's the thing. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say the one person who's done that dealing with difficult people, I've had to coach on how to deal with difficult people. So I'm like, I've even had to say, you're the one who's like done a talk on this, so we need to like go back to basics. And so
Oh,
no,
from the new group.
yes.
Okay.
And I'm like, no, okay. So no, I don't want to talk about dealing with difficult people again. Sorry, what were you gonna say, Steve?
I was gonna say some of the things that make it fun. I don't think there's a prescription. I feel like it's always kind of organic. And so when we talk about, at least this is what I remember when we had this thing. I'm like, okay, that's an interesting idea, but I don't know if that would really work. To me, it's a lot of, and I'm going to come back to what we said like an hour ago, which is like reading the room and going, what is going to work for this group?
Audience.
I was
Yeah.
just gonna say it takes quite a bit of emotional intelligence to pull it off. Because
For
it's the other thing about that is like, I don't know about you guys, but like I come up with the plan and I know how it's gonna go 50 different ways, and it never goes any of those ways ever, right? So it's like I'm like, this is the vision that I have, and you have to be okay with it not being. It could fall flat, or it could take off in a completely different direction.
For sure.
Like I remember one time it was Halloween, which is my favorite holiday. So I found this really cool Halloween template for the status report because it was right around Halloween. And I'm like, everybody's going to love this. They're going to think it's so funny. Nobody cared at all. It was all animated. It was so great. Nobody cared.
Maybe inside they were secretly just admiring it, but didn't know how to react.
Yeah. Yep. After that, I think it was Jeopardy after that. I was like, fine. I'm like, we're bringing out the big guns.
Ethan, do you remember your Wednesday Wisdom Wednesday?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yep. And Motivation Monday.
Motivation Monday. And then I had like Gratitude Friday or Grateful Friday or something.
Yeah.
Thankful Friday. I had Thankful
I think it was Freaky Friday.
Freaky Friday.
Yeah.